Hi friends, it's Terry Stewart, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Welcome to the second day of our Woohoo weekend. I'm really excited to be here. Let's get started. I'm going to turn the camera around and you'll see my big white light, my ceiling, but if you get sick, look away because it's going now. Here we go. Whee! Okay, and you should see my well, no, you see my big white ceiling until I can change this. Let's see. There we go. Straighten this up a bit. Alright, so you can see the beautiful sun suite, and I'm going to try to put my desktop up so I can see if anybody has questions. So you give me a shout out if you're watching, so I know you're here. It's kind of early here on the East Coast. And it's here in Maryland. It's overcast and a little drizzly, a little gray. Let's see, okay, there I am. I see myself, and I'll be able to see if you have any questions or you have any comments. Welcome. So let me just slide this down just a tad. Okay, that's perfect. So Nature's Prints, this is the suite I am working with today. Have you seen the other presentations? I caught a couple of them yesterday, and I plan to go back and watch the rest today. Nancy also featured this sun suite, and the suite has Nature's Prints, which has some botanical elements, some fabulous sentiments, and then this little splotchy thing. So in my project I'll be using You're on My Mind sentiment, this fan floor, maybe some kind of floral element, and the splotchy stamp set. And it coordinates with the natural prints, natural prints. So this is Nature's Prints. These are natural print dies, and you can see that there's some coordination going on here. So I'm going to be using this for that floral element. It also has a label die, and I'll be using that. I think that's the only dies I'm using. And it also within the suite has this 3D embossing folder, Fern, and I'll be using that, as well as the coordinating Sun Prints DSP, which has a lot of blues. It has the Pacific Point, which I think is what Nancy used in her project, as well as the In Color Starry Sky, Night of Navy, and then we have some gray granite elements. So it has florals like that cyanotype paper. I don't know if you guys use that in school projects where you would lay leaves on and put down the sun, and then where the leaves were, the sun didn't get to it, so the paper remained white and the sun turned it blue. And it just really has some great patterns. And so I've had a lot of fun playing with this paper and the whole suite. So let me show you finally my card, my project. It's a fun fold. So here I have used the paper, the Sun Prints paper, as this gray granite, and this little piece here as an accent. My embossing folder is a background, and then we die cut this floral element and this label. So it opens like this, so you kind of have a secret message inside. So let's get started. I'm going to leave my card here and move all this other to the side. And hey, good morning, Angie. Nice to have you with me. And Angie will be up after me, following me. She'll be showing us a project. So here are my pieces for this project, and I will post following the measurements, and so you don't have to snag them now. And you can hear my dog clicking across the carpet, the hardwood. Hopefully he'll go lay down. So a piece of white cards. Well, let's start with the beginning. So you're going to use a half sheet cut on the short side, and so that in imperial will be 4 1/4 by 11, and for our metric friends that's 10.5 by 29.7 centimeters. And we're going to do some scoring on this, so stay tuned. And you have an envelope, and then we have a piece of white basic white 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And that is 8.3 by 10.8 centimeters. We have a piece, and this is the inside. This will be the inside. And we have a matching piece in Night of Navy, which is our front layer, and that's the same size. And then we have a smaller piece. This is a layer to go on top of our Night of Navy. And this is 3 by 4 or 7.6 by 10.2. Right? No, I've messed that up because I know this is not correct, because if it comes down a layer. So I will check on that. Yeah, it's close, but no cigar. So 3.4. Then we have a little piece of DSP. It's 1 by 3 inches or 2 1/2 by 7.6 centimeters. And another piece of DSP that's 2 5/8 by 4 inches or 7.2 by 10 centimeters. And this is the opposite side of that DSP. So it just shows you that, you know, you have lots of options with that DSP. And then we have scraps, a gray granite and basic white. So let me move everything aside except our card base, so I can show you how we score this. Let me bring in my paper trimmer. So here's my paper trimmer, and I'm going to score this at 2 3/4 on each end. So there's 2 3/4, and this would be 7 1/2 centimeters. So there we go. And this is going to make our fun fold. So I'm going to do a little bit of stamping now. So we're going to stamp on this. I'm going to stamp on, let me get my pieces. That piece, and our scrap piece, our scrap pieces. And I also want to stamp on my envelope, so can't forget that. So let's put all this to the side. And oh, I meant to get some scrap paper. Ooh, what to do? Let's see if I have something handy. We'll just wing it. So I told you I was using that splotchy stamp, and that's on the top part of, it's very faint. And for that, I will use Versamark. And then there's my splotchy stamp. So when you have these score lines, you fold that in and fold the other one, and you kind of want to make sure that they match in the center. And then you can bring in your bone folder and crisp up those score lines, and you'll have a really nice fold where the edges of the cardstock meet together. And the top half is what we're using Versamark. Now Versamark is a watermark type ink. It's a thick ink. It's not water-based. Oops, you're shaking a little bit there. So I am going to stamp on this on the edge and try not to get on my workspace. Many of you who have seen me demonstrate, I know that I like a pristine workspace. So I'll just go around the edges, and then I'm going to open it and stamp down the bottom. Now I don't have to stamp in the center necessarily because the focal piece will hide any, hide the center. So I'm going to put my Versamark away. Now I did want to tell you, because this is a watermark stamp and not water-based, that I was going to use my Stampin' Scrub, set this, to clean that ink. It does not, I normally use the chamois, but because this is a non-water based, I am using a stamp cleaner, something soapy, to remove that water Versamark ink from my stamp. So just keep that in mind, it's not water based. Okay, so that is the first part, and because this is not water based, it will take, you know, a minute or two to dry. So I'm going to set that aside and do my other stamping. So also on gray granite, I'm using Night of Navy as my main ink color. That comes from the DSP. That's one of the colors, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment, You're on My Mind. And I love this font where it has the typeface and the kind of the written font. I like that. So this is for my label die cut. So I'll be putting that. So I stamp first and then we'll be die cutting it. I'll set that aside. The next thing I'm going to stamp is my floral image. And this is also going to be in Night of Navy. I'm going to ink this one up. And this will also be a die cut. So get my die for that. And then I wanted to stamp on my envelope. Nancy also stamped on hers, and I think she used the same stamp. And I'm just going to get the edges, and then this is going to, this is how I'm going to save my workspace. I'll just do the back because we won't see the back of that. And I'll slide that under there, and then my workspace can remain pristine how I like it. There. And one last place I want to stamp, and that is on the basic white for the inside. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp just on the edge of this, and using my scrap that I'll die cut. I'll use the back because we won't see that, right? And then I can maintain my pristine workspace that I so love that I so love. All right, so that is all the stamping. Oops. And so this will be the inside. That's my dog again. That old dog. I don't know why he won't go lay down. Okay, so we're going to die cut the sentiment, and we're going to die cut our floral element. Anybody knows what that flower is? That I would love to know, because I am not a gardener, or so I don't know what that is. And then the last thing we're going to do is, since we're going to use our cut and emboss machine to die cut, we're also going to emboss our 3x4 or 7.6 by 10.2 piece of white cardstock, and we'll slip this into the embossing folder. Now this is a 3D embossing folder, so you will need your gray plate, which I think is plate 4, and I've lined it up here using this line so it's not cattywampus in there. And let me go to my die cut and emboss machine. So that's what we're doing. I'll run that through, and then through the awesomeness of being prepared, here are my die cuts. There's my floral element, my label, and my 3D embossing. You can see it has these ferns, and there are various depths. I did sometimes with 3Ds, if you spritz it with water, you'll get a deeper imprint. If you spritz the cardstock, here's my spritzer. But I found, I guess my climate, it's humid enough that there virtually was no difference. So if you live in Maryland, I don't believe you need to spritz. But if you live in a drier climate, you may need to spritz your cardstock before you run it through the 3D embossing. So now we can start assembling, and I'm going to start with our inside, and I'm going to eyeball where this goes. So I want to center it right and left, top and bottom, and you could measure that out. I prefer just eyeballing it. That's how I roll. So I'm going to use my liquid glue here. So, and then I do have a couple other samples I've made with the same layout, but and paper, the same DSP, but different cardstock. So hang around and you can, I'll share that with you. All right, the next piece is we're going to take our DSP, and this is going onto the bottom. And I kind of stuck with the gray granite side. I thought it was a neutral, and kind of let the color of the cardstock. Now I'm going to butt this up to the, I hope you can see this. Here, let me put it like this. I'm going to butt the end up to the cut side, and then center top, bottom, and right sides. And by using the Tombow, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So we'll remove that sticky note. And so now we have the basics of our card. And I'm going to build the front focal piece. So I'll take my Night of Navy and my embossed 3D embossing, and put some liquid glue on it and get down all those nooks and crannies, because it really is an emboss. Now you can use, this is the emboss side, you could also use the deboss side, just depending on whatever look you're going for. So this is a lot of versatility. If you saw the video I posted from Stampin' Up, it talks about how versatile this suite is, and it truly is. All right, and the next piece, we're building up our layers. So I'll take my 1x3 piece of DSP, or 2.5 by 7.6, and this is where I want to bring back my card base. So let's attach that right now. So on my sample, the card opens at the front or at the top, but this one I'm going to do differently. I'm going to have it opened at the bottom. So it'll attach to the top and then open to the bottom. And please let me know which version you prefer. So I'm going to match up my Night of Navy layer with my inside layer, and then this has helped me when I'm placing my adhesive that I don't go past my cut, because I don't want to seal my flap. I want it to be able to move. So now if I turn it over and match my bottom of my focal piece to my inside layer, it should hide it. And then the adhesive will be on the top. Just give that a press for a moment so it adheres, and voila. Alright, so now when we add our DSP, I want the DSP to be right where the two edges meet. So when I place it down, that it kind of goes across. So let me put my adhesive on, and now I have a way to make sure that it's going to match that where they meet up, where the two edges of the DSP, the cardstock meet the card base. All right. So it's coming together, and the next layer is our floral image, and I am going to pop this up with dimensionals, and I'm using my mini dimensionals and basically putting one on most of the branches. So I'll just come down on these edges, and I love dimensionals. I would say 90% of the projects I use or create have dimensionals. I'm really the dimensional queen. And then the only thing with being the dimensional queen is that you get a lot of these covers, and they're just like everywhere. You think you put them all in the little trash bin, and then they escape, and lo and behold, you're like, what? Where'd that one come from? On me, on the carpet, on the dog, everywhere. They're like Houdinis. So I'm gonna place this stem kind of in the middle of my DSP, and that will give a little bit, it will go off the edge of the embossed, which I kind of like that feature. And bring my label in, and that's going to cover it. Now I only want to put dimensionals along the bottom. So let me, more dimensionals, because I am the dimensional queen. So stick this. And I love the shape of this. It's so unique of this label. It kind of has these curved edges here with a circle in the middle. It's just a very unique label. Maybe put some over here on this side of it so it doesn't sag. There we go. All right, so see how you can quickly generate a lot of these little covers. And then I'm going to center it right and left, and just below the stem, covering the stem. Does that look right? All right. And then for the final touch, I'm going to add some brushed brass butterflies. Bring in my pick your tool. And I'm going to use a large butterfly down here. And then on some of these smaller ones, kind of flitting about. So it's like a nice little summer day. And they're just out buzzing around. There we go. All right, so there is my finished card with coordinating envelope. Now you have to let me know, do you prefer the card that opens from the top, or the card that opens at the bottom? So leave me a comment, let me know which one you prefer. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And the Woohoo Weekend, if you haven't watched the other demonstrations, please go back and look at them. If you have any questions or want to place an order, contact the demonstrator who invited you to this group. Angie will be up, from the top of the hour. It's an hour later, so you'll have a little bit of break. I am posting some engagement posts up until the top of the hour. Then 1 hour later, Nancy will take over. Then Maureen's coming, and Chrissy had some technical difficulties last night, so her live stamping will be later today. So, thank you so much. I will be back shortly with a little tip and some engagement posts. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, stamping is fun. Bye.